talking about Blogger real quickly too. I don't know if you guys were able to see that, but he was sharing that video on Blogger. Blogger is a Google-owned blogging network. And whenever you're adding a video and hitting that share button with taking advantage of that, what is the purpose behind that? Think about that whenever you're doing any of these, whenever you're sharing your video anywhere. Because if you're just sharing the video and you're sharing it to Blogger, it's going to your audience maybe that's following you on Blogger. But Blogger is also obviously a blogging platform, if you didn't know by the name itself, and posts on there can be indexed in Google. So just like videos already show up in Google search results, which I'm sure we'll take a look at here in a little bit, if you were to also put in your video in that blog and then write content with it, you have another chance to show up in the search engines ranking for keywords that you might want your video to rank for, which will help get you more traffic. So just a quick thought there.
Great. Yeah. Well, this one I'm into Reddit now, and I've chosen the subgroup or the subreddit YouTubers. And I've got the URL for the video there. And because it wants to make sure I'm not a robot, it will ask me to prove that. JBEC. And I'll just submit, and that's how easy it is. Except for it says that this subreddit won't allow me to use a URL. Is that right?
It looks like there's no B in there. You're missing a YouTubers.
B. Okay. Great. Thanks. So there's some new things you have to know in order to do this. And then this is going to be a different CAPTCHA. What's that called? The CAPTCHA?
Yeah, the CAPTCHA.
RYCU. So tell us about YouTube, subreddits, Casey. What is that all about? Okay,
well, so if anybody doesn't use Reddit or you haven't used it yet, you're going to have to check it out and you're going to be addicted. So I'm just warning you, first of all. But basically, Reddit is where everybody goes on the internet to share funny, useful, either discussion items, links, videos in this case, and each category is a subreddit. So if you make it to the homepage of Reddit, you did something freaking amazing, and we'll talk about that later. But there's subreddits, like in this case, he's using the YouTube one, so it's only going to be YouTube-related subjects that are posted there. So the key with Reddit, though, too, since we're talking about it right now, is the headline. The people that are hanging out in Reddit, the headline is basically everything. Whatever your title is, that's what's going to get the clicks. If it's funny or interesting, that's probably going to get a little bit more upvotes on Reddit there. And it's an awesome opportunity and a free link just for sharing your video there. And we'll talk about the benefits of that later. Did that CAPTCHA work?
That one is giving me trouble, and I had trouble with this last night too. So let's try a different subreddit, I guess. I'll type in, and you should know, maybe. We'll try that one. And this
might be the same.
Looks like the same one. Submit. Still having trouble getting that one accessed. Oh, this says this subreddit only allows text posts.
Sure.
So what's that about?
So some of the subreddits that you choose, not every subreddit that you post it to, only allow text posts. So that means they wouldn't allow images or videos. So you do want to check that out beforehand and make sure you decide that category or that subreddit before you try to post it, obviously.
Okay, I'll try this one, YouTube comments, and see if that's more friendly to my URL.
Sure.
And that one only allows text posts too. So we'll try.
So another thing too with subreddits, I don't know if you guys can see the different categories loading on the screen or not
videos
right now. But as those load, these subreddits, where you want to share your content, and this is something I'm going to touch on a lot tonight. It's one thing to post a video and just leave it and let it go. How much traction is that going to get? But what if you're sharing it with an interested audience, of course, where your audience is hanging out? So the smoothie video may be in a subreddit of workout or exercise or smoothies, even if that one exists. Sharing it with that audience is going to give you 1,000 times more pickup than it would just in a more generic form.
If you pick the wrong category.
Yep, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, so is this an area that I can add my comments to my post?
Yeah, so right here you have the comment section after you posted.
Right, it's got an image next to the title.
And it associates it with your username. And the way that Reddit works, if you haven't used it before, the more people that upvote it, hit that up arrow, is basically going to move you up and up that list. So that means that people are interested if they're hitting that. So hopefully that's what you want. And there can also be discussions there too, where people are commenting on the video, like Anthony's about to do right now.
Watch out while I hit you over the side of the head with this joke about my nuts.
Or with you.
It what? With a joke. How about that? Okay, so that's Reddit, and that's a really popular one too. I mean, we've got to look at, when we syndicate, the Alexa rankings too. Do you want to talk about Alexa?
Sure. So if you're not familiar with Alexa, it's www.alexa.com. And it's a way that basically they rank websites. So they do it worldwide and by country. And they give you a numerical number, 1 through 1 million or 100 million. And Alexa data is most accurate when you're talking within the top 1 million sites in all of the US or all of the world, or the top 100,000 would be even better. But if you are sharing on a site that has an Alexa ranking of 1, that's the most popular site in the world according to Alexa. So it's a tool that you can use to kind of gauge how important is this site. And if you're sharing it somewhere in the hundreds of millions, well, maybe it's not so popular.
And so that has an effect of how well your video is going to be ranked then.
It's definitely going to have some effect on it, absolutely, because typically sites that aren't that popular and don't get traffic also don't rank in Google. And there's some caveats to that as well. But for the most part, yeah, you do. It really doesn't matter. You want to post your content on the highest quality sites because that builds your reputation anyway. And if you're just posting your content on lower quality sites, even if it helps you even a little bit, no one's going to see it. So don't do it. Focus on the good stuff.
Okay, so this is Tumblr, and this is the one that's popular with a lot of the teenagers, right?
Yep.
I mean, as soon as their parents started going on Facebook, they were like, bye-bye, we're going to find another one, and this was the one they found.
Correct, yeah. It's good for young adults, and that's what the audience is on Tumblr. And it's a social kind of blogging network where they can post and write their thoughts and share pictures.
Right. So there's a difference between blogs and microblogs, too, and Tumblr kind of blends the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that definitely, because there's really no restrictions there on the size of posts. A typical blog, you're seeing a lot of bigger posts, and a microblog, you're just seeing some characters, some amount of characters, like Twitter, for example.
Yeah.
But and so they can do either of those here, and they do.
Great. So nailed that one, and you can see how easy this is. A lot of these just open up inside, and they use your Facebook login, which I find is very convenient because I don't have to type in any characters. Casey, how safe is it for me to use my Facebook or my Google Plus login? Should I be worried about that?
You shouldn't be worried about that. No, that's encrypted on their servers, and they have like anything, any data subject to breach, but they have the resources to prevent that for the most part.
Yeah, I've never had any problem with it.
So when you've got some video management,
if you've got a question, we encourage you to walk up to the microphone so that the people on the TV can hear your question, because we definitely want to hear your question, and so do the people that are watching the broadcast.
So, and then on Facebook too, just something to cover there. When you post a video to Facebook, do you post it to just your page, your business's page, a page that you manage? If you are, you could be missing some opportunities because that video might be better placed somewhere else. Where's your audience hanging out? If you are talking to first-time home buyers, maybe, or people in the community that might want to sell their home, maybe this video that you're posting would be good in a community group where it's reaching a wider audience for your target market, as opposed to just your personal brand page, which might have less impact. Also with Facebook, I want to be very clear with something. When you post, on the lowest percentage now, you're going to get about 3% of people that see that.
Wow.
And on the higher end, it's going to be in the 20s. So your visibility is greatly reduced unless you're buying their ads, of course.
Mm-hmm. This one is, what's the VK one?
VK. That's the largest social network in Europe, actually. Supposedly.
Yeah. I had some trouble logging into this one last night. Mm-hmm. So
they claim to have over 100 million active users. So if your audience or target is in Europe, it definitely can't hurt. So if you're seeing all these buttons that he's able to click on here, there's a lot of opportunities to share your video just straight from YouTube.
Yeah, and that would be a whole different audience that I wouldn't get access to if I was posting it all over, North American type sites, I guess, for example.
Looks like we might have a question.
Yeah, let's go ahead with the question.
I think we're just wondering, is that all from the share button right under the video in YouTube?
Yes.
All this is right under there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
All right.
Yeah, can we pull up your screen real quickly here?
Sure. Go to my profile.
Okay, cool. Great.
So that's nice too because it pulled in a lot of my profile information. Mm-hmm. And maybe some more of my friends are on this too. So it'll search for my friends and add them for me or invite them.
Yeah, I mean, it'll have that capability. I'm not sure that unless you have European friends that will be.
Not too many.
You'll
I think
have
I've
to see.
got one actually,
Okay.
so that's good.
And
Well,
then you guys weren't able to see these buttons below, so that's what we're working through right here.
Oh yeah. When I was explaining these earlier, they weren't on my screen. So these are the buttons. Thank you, David. That I'm referring to. Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus I passed. Blogger I hit, Reddit, Tumblr, Pinterest, and VK. Mm-hmm. So now that I'd logged in, it knows me and it recognizes me, and so it pulls this video up, and then I can comment on it as I post it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then I'll just send that off and move on with my syndication efforts. Next is LinkedIn. We know about LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
I think I'll pass over that one too. It's another popular one. I want to leave plenty of time for the rest of the things that we have to talk about. Stumbleupon. This is more of a less used social media site. What do you know about Stumbleupon?
Stumbleupon, I shouldn't admit this, but back in the day when my last corporate job, I used to stumble all day. And it's a website that you open up like this, and you basically just hit buttons, and it says stumble, and it takes you to something interesting that somebody else shared on Stumbleupon. So just by having your information shared on Stumbleupon, people are going to find it. And there's plenty of other people out there that stumble all day. So you're going to get views just by being listed there.
Great. So it recognized me, and I'm not too familiar with this. What do I do next? How do I get my video up
So,
here? Oh, it says I'm not signed in.
Yeah, once you're signed in, it'll give you the option to submit it, and then users will just hit that. If you were just using the site, you would hit the stumble button to go from the one page to the next. Don't do that. It's very addicting. Or do that. You have time to kill.
So my question is, are all of these little icons going to automatically show up, or do you actually have to already have an existing account with these social sites? Or will they just all pop up and then you go in and then you have the option
to sign up to them?
join up?
Yes.
Yep.
The question was, do these buttons automatically show up? And they do.
A lot of them I've never heard of before, and I think I've seen that before, but I think I've only seen like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the ones that I already know I have an account with.
Yeah. So I didn't have any of these counts either before last night, but that bar was always there. And it's actually only showed up on YouTube less than 6 months ago.
Okay.
So it's pretty new.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so now it's asking for access to my Facebook information.
Okay, yeah. It's just the authentication for the login there and creating your username.
Great. Okay, so now I've got access to post that video and upload images.
Yeah, I mean you can share websites, you can upload images on Stumbleupon.
You know what I really like to do is to have it know that I'm signed in and then just...
Now that you're signed in, that's exacally what should happen.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
want.
is this page safe
safe
for work?
Yes.
Yes, hopefully.
It always asks that, doesn't it?
It does, because people,
They want to make sure we're
Never know
not getting
what
in
people are
trouble
gonna
at work. Okay, stumble more from the site.
So it's done. So now it's posted.
Oh, okay.
And now
Great.
if you hit that button, you're stumbling. You're
Oh,
You're the
okay.
user at that point.
Okay, great. Good to know. All right, I'm going to move this mic just a little bit lower because it's popping a little bit. Okay, so next, this is a fun one I got to learn about just last night too, and it's called OK, and that is a short acronym for a longer Russian name. Does anybody know how to pronounce it? Okay.
I'm not going to try.
Yeah. I can't pronounce it either, but we know it's Russian, right?
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and sign in because we want to get some views in Russia. Okay. Maybe this one allows me to sign in with Facebook too. Let's see. Nope, it doesn't.
Looks like no.
Okay. Well, just to save you the agony of me logging into that, know that that's another one you can use, and it works about the same way. Okay, what's this one with the pencil?
Livejournal.
Livejournal.
Oh, wait, no, is it? Are you in which one?
Yeah,
Livejournal, yeah.
Okay.
Livejournal.
So joining Livejournal, tell us what's Livejournal all about?
So same thing, it's just a blogging network, but
More to do
it.
with the writers specifically who really value.
I think it's more geared towards that, but in essence, from a technical standpoint, it's just a blogging platform.
Okay, so running out of time, trying to keep this thing going. Dig, do we want to touch on that?
Just submit to Dig, always. One more place that you can get that video out, right?
Right.
Do that.
Okay, so now that I did this last night with the video from the DeLorean video, and we get some analytics to take a look at what happened. And so this is under the video manager, or is it under I think it's under the Creator Studio button. So you'll find that under your thumbnail and go to the analytics. And this is the overview of the analytics in your dashboard. You can see over the last 28 days, there's 58 views, there's 38 minutes watched, 2 new subscribers. If we go to the analytics, you'll see exactly what happened in the last 24 hours, which is pretty amazing, because I just spent, maybe 10, 15 minutes, almost as much as I did here, doing the syndication practice to get some more views, and let's see how many I got. So that was last night. It looks like, 14 new views in 24 hours, which is pretty good. Now, at this point, you can sort of evaluate, was that time I invested worth the extra 15 views or not? And the way you evaluate that is you compare it against views that you could buy, I guess. And you could say, well, when I buy views, that's kind of a one-time thing, and they might not be actually driving traffic, which is the purpose of getting more views. And when you do it organically, you get to keep collecting views over time. Whereas if you buy them, I think it's one and done.
It is. Second they click, you spent that money.
Yeah.
View's gone.
So can you say anything more about paid views versus organically generating views like this?
Well, it depends on the industry that you're in. First of all, some industries don't even have the option for paid views. And that's more of the firearms and things like that, of course. But it's something that's important to know if you work in any of those industries. Outside of that, I'm always a fan of organic SEO, organic everything, because you're not paying for these views, you're not paying for those clicks. But if you're doing these ads, guess what? Every time somebody clicks, it's costing you money. It's not an arm and a leg on YouTube yet, but it can get up there. And something we'll talk about pretty shortly here is what's the purpose of that video too? Is it to just get that view, or is there a greater purpose beyond that? So you have to consider that as well.
Yeah, and we all know that you get a higher ranking on YouTube if you get more views. And so, there may be a purpose for buying views initially to get things kick-started, because I'm sure I'm more likely to click on a video that has more views on it than one that less. So, it may play a small role, but you really have to evaluate the cost associated with that. So that's my quick synopsis of the low-hanging fruit on YouTube that's already there available to you. And I will pass it over to Casey to talk about some more advanced methods of syndication, which I'm really excited to learn. And to do that, I'm going to pull out the audio and the data signal, and sometimes it makes a big pop noise, but
Okay.
it didn't that time, so that's good.
And then it looks like we have a couple questions maybe as well here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Casey and Anthony, I appreciate your helping out and guiding people that don't market very much, like myself. So the question I have is to simplify the marketing. Once you put the campaign out or put the message and try to deliver that, is there a medium or a dashboard that you can probably plug into that would broadcast on Diggs, Facebook, YouTube, all the sources all at once and kind of feed into that, or is that implemented?
Save time.
So that's something we're going to look at in the next segment here of this. There are some options there, and I have some pros and cons, and we're going to look at specifically some of those services, and then also for the video itself for sending that out to multiple places.
Okay, that'll help. That's what I was kind of looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The easy button.
Easy button.
Cool.
Okay, all right. Interesting. Okay. Well, before we get started here, I wanted to just clarify. I want to bring some background into what we're looking here. And I know we have a wide audience here, probably from beginners listening and here to very advanced users. So I'm going to try to hit as much of that as possible and make it easy for everybody, just to figure that out. So first and foremost, let's talk about videos and the way that what options you have for uploading those. So if you're using YouTube right now, which I'm assuming you guys all are, you're recording that video and uploading it directly to YouTube. And that's probably using a camera or whatever phone you're using. There's also another service called Google Hangouts on Air, if you're not familiar with that. And I want to bring that up because let's say you don't have expensive camera equipment or just any camera equipment, but you have that little webcam on your computer and you want to release something. Obviously, I'm a big fan of quality, but sometimes you got to bootstrap things. So it's called Google Hangouts on Air, and you can actually do a live stream, kind of like we're doing right now, but you can also upload that directly to YouTube. And there's advantages to that, especially in my opinion, if you're doing question and answer videos. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types of videos you're doing and the different methods you can use to promote those differently. But if you're doing a Q&A video and I wanted to get something online right away, guess what? You can use that. So if we show my screen here real quickly, I'm Googling this, and you guys should all be able to Google it too. And it says, hey Casey, how fast can a video be indexed? And I don't know if that's coming up on the screen or not here. But the first result that I'm seeing in Google is a video that I uploaded here when I was standing up here today. I don't know if we can get that on the screen.
Yeah, can we get that on the screen? Vince, put that on the screen for us. There we go.
And, oh, that's not my background. Hold on, let me change a setting real quickly.
That may be what the reason was there.
I think that's my fault.
You may have to match the same resolution where it's 780.
Got it. Sorry about this, guys. What you're going to see, though, when we get to there, is that the time that it took for me to record that video and then hit that upload button.
There you go.
That's my book.
You're happening.
Is right here. Do you guys see that? It says 4 minutes. So within 4 minutes of me uploading a video, I'm ranking #1 for long tail keyword. I can't do this with a 2-word keyword probably because the competition is so high. But let's say that you just have a longer tail keyword for your video, which most are anyways, because you're probably not just doing SEO audit or home tour. You're probably doing something more descriptive. If you do that by uploading your video to Google or use Google Hangouts here or YouTube or using Google Hangouts, you're going to be indexed very fast. And this is a cornerstone of what I'm going to be talking a little bit about today because what good is a video if people can't see it, if they can't find it? Mm-hmm. And we know people are looking on YouTube, and you already know about optimizing your title and description to get those views on YouTube. But there's a big portion of people typing things directly into Google as well and looking elsewhere on other video mediums, which we're going to look at. So just keep that in mind, kind of a cool little trick. But you can do that right away using Google Hangouts on Air. And if I were just to Google that, or Google Hangouts on Air, it would come right up here. Hopefully. I don't know why it's in Spanish. Well, normally it would. Anyway, it's right here. Or the one right above that. So you could do it right from Google+. So you do have to have a Google account, of course, to do that, but just something that's interesting. So let's see here. Let me pull up some notes. Good. All right. So did you know, talking about Facebook, going back to that real quickly, let's talk about Facebook as a medium. Who uploads? Does anybody upload their videos directly to Facebook right now too? Yeah. I mean, so one of the things that we want to cover is how you can get this video out to the most amount of people as possible. Right. And of course, the easy way to track it is to do all your promotion through YouTube, and that may very well be the case, given on what your goals are. But you can upload it to a lot of other places, and Facebook was another one of those options. And we're going to look at Vimeo and a few others here. But the reason I bring that up is because I want to cover a very specific point. You need to know the point of your video before you're uploading it. Are you creating this just to get those eyes for people searching for what the title of that video? Are you going to embed that on your website? Are you expecting people to see that video and then click to your website? Okay, you got to think of that end goal, because that's going to dictate exactly where it's going to go, how you're going to promote it, and even how you're going to optimize that video. So in YouTube videos, for example, when you upload one, you can add a link in there. You can add a link in the description. Right. So if people watch your video, they can then click on that link and go to your website if it's a product. Okay, so it just depends on the purpose of your video, how you're going to distribute it.
Now, I've noticed as well that if you upload a video directly to Facebook, it gets more exposure than if you copy and paste a link from YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're in control of their own network and data. So sure. I'm always a fan of moving it everywhere to as many places as possible if I'm just concerned about getting that message out, of course. Mm-hmm. So I always say upload it to Facebook, upload it to YouTube, and some of the others that we're going to look at.
Yeah, great.
So let's start talking about some of the other websites depending on the type of video you have. Vimeo is another option. If you haven't used that before, I'll just go ahead and pull it up real quickly here. It's another website. It's intended for home and professional users. It differs from YouTube, has a different audience, but at the same time, they charge for the pro version. So if you're doing business videos, they recommend that you pay. You might be able to get away with the other way, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Now, I hear Vimeos are better to use on your website because it gives you more selection and not as many advertisements. Mm-hmm. It gives you a carousel to use and can be more friendly for your website than YouTube can be. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, but I think there's an even better solution. So okay. I'll try not to go too far down the rabbit hole here. Yeah. But let's say that your goal, you have an e-commerce website. You sell products on your website, and you want people who visit your website to view that video. Mm-hmm. In my personal opinion, I don't typically embed YouTube videos or Vimeo videos in there, because it gives people a place to leave. They're already on your website, they're looking at your content, and then, they can click somewhere and leave. So that's kind of silly if you're trying to do a transaction approach or a sign-up form or whatever. So instead, you can use a service called Wistia, and we'll just look at it right now since we're talking about it. It's a paid service, but basically it's a really SEO-friendly service, which will allow you to embed your videos into your website. But when they hit play and it's over, there's no ads. There's no YouTube link going out to YouTube as well. People are staying on your website. So there's a big argument out there right now, and I agree with it. I'm on this side of it that, if you're doing product videos, you may want to have your product video on YouTube, absolutely, but don't use that version on your website. Embed it through a different service so they don't leave.
Right.
So yeah, that would be my choice for if you're embedding on your own website.
Great pro tip.
Yeah. So, and then also with Wistia, it's kind of like YouTube too, where it has any. Actually, let me just show you an example here. Video rich snippets. Let's see if this pulls up. So, what a video rich snippet is exactly what my keyword from earlier was, where that video came up with my face in there, and that's basically where the video shows up in the search results. So, if I'm typing something, I'm trying to think of something that might have a video result that's mine. I know this one will, because I did this one too.
Yeah.
So if I just Google Casey Meraz is awesome, look at this. I get this one box on my screen where the video shows up in there. So usually it's smaller than that. It's just a little video rich snippet. But if you use Wistia, it does integrate with, it does add that rich snippet code in there too. So just like you get those video thumbnails through YouTube, you can also potentially get the video thumbnails to show up in Google as well.
Great.
So, and that's
really,
important.
I mean, look how much real estate that takes up on the first page for the keyword Casey Meraz is awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, and that's kind of an exact match keyword. We're not going to have too many people,
not highly searched,
thousands of people looking that problem to solve.
Not yet. Coming soon.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about different ways or different places to upload your video before I went down that rabbit hole. And MySpace video actually is still a thing. You can upload videos there that are up to 500 megabytes, believe it or not. Who's there and hanging out there? I'm not so sure. So, that's up to you. And then Blip TV is one we got here. Blip TV. You can upload your videos there. And then there's a bunch of other ones. And a couple that I really wanted to highlight is if anybody does news out there, if you do any news or reporting, CNN iReport will allow you to upload videos or text or stories directly to CNN. And if you have to fill out a form, but they might use your actual work on broadcast and mention you. So that can be huge as far as exposure goes if you're doing news-related coverage. So there's another one that has that too. I want to say it's ABC, but I could be mistaken. Was it? Oh, sorry. We hear voices from. And then VO. I don't know if anybody has used that before. I've only done a very little bit with that, so I'm not going to speak to it too much. But basically, there's all of these places out there that you can upload your videos to, and it's how much time do you want to spend doing it? Do you want to do it all at once, or do you want to take your time and upload them individually? Before I get into that, a couple pros and cons. I'm a search engine marketer, very biased in what I'm saying about ranking and showing up organically in Google and things like that. So yes, you can use services like that, but I do recommend that every video you upload would actually have its own description, even though it's the same video. And what I mean by that is something that's reworded completely, not just changing a couple words, but rewording that content, the description of your video. And the reason is basically your video will rank and has the potential to rank in more places just by doing that. And because Google favors unique content. And whenever they say duplicate content, if there's two results that are the same, they're going to remove one that they think is, they're going to remove the one that they think is less important. On the other hand, if you are uploading to all of these areas and all of this information is unique, you run the opportunity of possibly taking up more real estate on the search engines just by doing that. So now let's take a look at some services here. I don't have a login for this, but oneload.com, if you're interested in getting your videos out and distributed, this is a great service. I used this last year at a convention that I did, and I can't say enough good words about it. It is a paid program, and they don't have the pricing on their website right now, but you're looking at about $800 a year, just so you know, as far as price goes. But if you're looking for simplicity and you're pumping out a lot of videos and you need to get them on these networks and then shared appropriately and fast, oneload.com is a great answer for that. And I have no affiliation with them at all. I just use them. So, and there's a couple others out there that do this exact same thing. UStudio and Brightcove. Let me pull those up as well here. Brightcove and UStudio. Nope, not Livejournal. Okay, go ahead and pull up UStudio.
There you are.
So as these are loading, the way that these work is basically you sign up for these different services, and then once you're logged into them, you can integrate the accounts that you have. So obviously, if you wanted to share all of your videos through your business accounts, you would link your business account to each one of these different videos, give that login. But some of them allow multiple logins for the same video distribution platform. So you could potentially share that with multiple places at once, is the reason I bring that up.
So one video in multiple places is
yes.
what we're talking
about. That's what we're talking about. Taking your one video and just moving it to everywhere at once, saving a lot of time, but unfortunately it costs money.
So to ask a question to that, so if you have one video and you upload it and then it gets syndicated to all these different outlets, you were saying that you don't want to have replicated or duplicated content. So how do you have different headline, different description, different keywords for the same video so it has better Google juice throughout?
Yeah, let me be very clear on that. So first of all, you can keep the headline the same if you want, because that's probably what you're trying to rank for. It was really the description text that I was curious about. And quick tip, if you don't know what text to put in your video, just transcribe it, and then you'll have all the text you want. But to to answer your question, after you've syndicated it, after you've sent it all out, you're going to want to log in and change those. It's not one load does give you the option to change that depending on where you're sending it to, but you're doing it one way or the other. We can't cut that step out, in my opinion. So, and that's up to you. It's not like it's going to hurt you in any way if you don't take my approach. I'm just thinking of like, hey, if I can have all 10 positions on Google, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I think.
That was the Penguin change update, wasn't it? With the duplicate content.
So we had Panda, which was geared towards duplicate content, and then Penguin was attacking links.
Okay.
So to drop a little bit of SEO knowledge on here on you guys, in case you don't have any background, that stands for search engine optimization. And my goal as a marketer is to make things show up higher on Google. Right. And to do that, there's over 200 different ranking factors, but the most important are content, so the text in your video here, and then links, other authority websites linking back to you. That acts as a vote of confidence, basically. And that's how they prioritize, hey, who's better than this guy? Who has the higher quality links going to them? The reason I say that, too, is because in all of these videos, a lot of them, you can add that link like I mentioned earlier. So what if you were uploading your videos and then creating a link to your product page, your landing page, and all of them as well? Some of these might actually pass that juice and help raise your website ranking for that as well. And I wanted to just bring that up because some people may just be trying to make money off of YouTube ads, but others of you might want to try to get them to your website, and there's an added benefit there that I just wanted to cover.
Right, so in the description of all these videos, if your strategy was to drive people to your website, you'd want to list your website. You'd want to maybe list your social links, like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. And that would drive even more of this juice to raise your authority online.
Correct, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the more of those links, the better.
Yeah.
So as far as sharing videos, I want to circle a little bit back to how we share them and who we share them with. Because this is probably the most fundamental piece of it. If you're not doing this right, then you're missing out on most of the views. So this week I had an opportunity, or last week I had an opportunity to attend a show in Vegas. It's this big gun show. But I was helping a company there do some video work for them. Okay. And typically in previous years, they create these videos of a product and they throw it online. They throw it to their channels. Very small channel, probably 3,000, 3,500 subscribers, something like that. And so they throw it up there and they'd get a few hundred views or whatever just from the people that were subscribed to them. And so they asked me, so how can we do this? How can we get more? And I sat with them and we figured out a plan and put together a strategy. So this is where putting in the work for video marketing is really going to go a long way, okay? If you are looking for the easiest solution, you're not going to get the best results. So if you do put it in a little bit more legwork, it'll definitely pay off if you're doing it right. So what we did with these guys is I did a search, and let's just do, I'll show you exactly what I did. How about that? So as a marketer, I always look for who's connected to who and who's interested in what. And in this case, it's an airsoft store. So if you're familiar with airsoft. And so I just did probably like a very simple search like this, like airsoft. And then, okay, these are all manufacturers, whatever. And then eventually, though, you scroll down and you see, let's see if anybody here is in the news. All right, not on page 1. Okay, what about page 2? And actually, I could just type in airsoft news to make my life a lot easier, right? Airsoft news. Okay, these guys or these guys. And then I reached out to them, these people that have news websites that are interested in sharing this stuff, and I said, hey, take a look at this video. Will you share this? They say yes. Who's their audience? My client, okay? And all I'm doing is sending an email, a direct approach. I can't automate this because there's a lot of webmasters out there and they get junk all the time. But if you build a relationship through a quick email and do this, and then they share it, well, guess what? That one video that only had a couple hundred views went up to several thousand. It's climbing by 400 a day probably right now. Wow. So, and I did that to about 10 different sites that were relative to that niche. In addition to this, I also took advantage of the social side. So I don't know if I'm logged in to anything right now. Let's see here. I am not. Okay. So social, we're going to circle back around to that real quickly, because just as I did that with webmasters, you guys can do that with groups that already exist, okay? If you sell a product, again, talking about products, and you make a video about their product, guess who's willing to share it? The manufacturer of that product, okay? And they'll share that on their social networks. And then you're in front of their audience, who is probably part of your target market, right? So finding these groups is huge. And Google Plus is a good one, more for tech-related people, other industries, it depends. So if I go to communities over here on Google Plus, and I look for different communities, I can join them. Let me search for one. Or actually, let's just say law firm marketing. I do a lot of lawyer marketing. So I became friends with these guys, and they have, how many people in their circles? Let's see, 2,459.
Wow.
And so if I reach out to them and share this on their wall, I'm going to get in front of their audience now too, especially if they approve that and promote that. So find your target audience, find where they're hanging out, and share it there. That's where you're going to have the biggest effect. And the caveat to that is you don't want to do this like, oh, let me find 100 Facebook groups and send it to all of them, because then Facebook's just going to hide you altogether. So, but if you did like one today and like one in another day or something like that, not very fast, but more natural, until it gets a viral pickup, then you're going to be good, okay? And that's just an amazing opportunity that I think a lot of people miss. They just upload the video and say it's online, it's good, whereas they could really target it towards that audience and really blow it up.
So how would that make effect for, let's say, a realtor, for example? Realtor makes a video, a listing of a house, and if he shared it with a national real estate group who like to share good content and thought that his content was good, well, then he might get more likes, but he might not necessarily sell that house. But maybe the next time he made a video, he'd have more likes, so he'd be more likely to sell the house. Is that kind of how that works?
So, I mean, that's definitely one way to do it. Another way would be to figure out where people that are moving to that area might be hanging out, if that exists.
Okay.
And if it doesn't exist...
New to Denver?
New to Denver, yeah. A new to Denver group would be a great one, or coming to Denver, something like that. And then if it doesn't exist, you could create that too. So realtors, that's something I tell them all the time, is, you have a website. Why don't you create these videos and talk about the top 5 restaurants in Parker and all this stuff? And when people are Googling these things or, doing research on their kids' schools, they're going to land on their website and see their video. So
Trojan
resources.
horse.
Yeah. I mean,
awesome.
It's good. You're helping people out and you're building that great content.
Nice. Great tip.
All right. So a couple more things here. I wanted to show you guys a little bit of paid syndication because I'm assuming everybody watching has heard of CNN. Did you know you can get on CNN pretty quickly, even with your video?
That's good to know.
All right. It's paid, unfortunately. But it's very cheap, too. So I'm scrolling down to the bottom of CNN. If you guys read pretty much any website and you get sucked into these things like me, I start clicking on some of these bottom links because they have interesting headlines that are really not that interesting to me, but they're silly. And it's down here, for example, like from our partners, all these things right here. If I click on any one of these websites, it's going to take me to somewhere outside of CNN in this case. And all of these are powered by one service. The service is called Outbrain. So outbrain.com is the service. And you can share videos, articles, or whatever, and it's actually remarkably cheap. Okay? So if you're looking at the screen, and you see, let's have this pull up real quickly. There's this promoted stories section, which will pop up here in a second. That's the type of stuff that you see on CNN, Fox News, all of these major websites. This is their own syndicated content, and you can be right here just by paying small amounts of money. It's a cost per click. Usually if I do a target here in the US, I'm not going to pay that much. I'm going to pay cents for the view, okay? And so what I would do, sign up for this service, hook your credit card in there, of course, sadly, and then put your link in there to your video or your website, depending on what you're trying to promote, and come up with a very compelling headline. Headlines are huge for any of this clickbait type stuff. And that's really what it is people are, reading something else and they say, oh, 5 ways Kim Kardashian did whatever, they're going to be interested and click on those. Now, I know those aren't the videos that you're making, but those headlines exist for every industry, and it's just about making it catchy, controversial, but don't make it misleading. I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had those examples, but
Yeah.
So Outbrain, great service, very underutilized, I would say. Most people don't even know about it.
So Outbrain will take your content, whether it be video, blog, pictures, and it will promote them on their partner network.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And their partner network consists mostly of news groups, like CNN or ESPN or something like that.
Yep, Forbes, like all these big sites.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
great. Well, that's definitely a good place to
And
go.
you can gear that a little bit towards your audience, too, of course. They have most control over it, so they're going to read your headline and look at what you have and share that appropriately with that group. But literally anything goes here. So while it can be professional stuff like 4 surgeries to avoid, it could literally be anything that you guys make videos about.
Now, can you target that geographically, too?
Yes, you do target it geographically.
Oh, very
and
nice.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I personally, after teaching one of these things, didn't do that, and then I ran up my bill. So make sure you do that because you'll get a lot of clicks from overseas, and if that's not your intent, you don't want that.
Right.
So.
It might be hard to service somebody who has a house to sell in Bangladesh.
Exactly. So U.S. clicks, definitely more expensive, but better. So, all right. And then we had a couple other. Does anybody do pays for YouTube like we were talking about a little bit earlier with Anthony here? YouTube. Actually, we have a couple questions. Let's do those first.
I had a question in syndication and driving traffic to your own site. What are your favorite programs or services to create calls to action within a video, at the end of the video, before it goes to the related videos? Oftentimes you can include a call to action to your own site or even other videos. What do you use for those? I know there's a variety of programs out there.
So me personally, when talking about calls to action, I'm doing most of my video marketing on my website. So I fear my answer might be a little bit different. And I'm not using really any software to do that. I use a WordPress website for my platforms, embed these videos through Wistia. And the problem that you're looking at with Wistia is you do have one, it's not as advanced as YouTube. I can't embed, I can have videos that show afterwards and things like that. And I can add a link call to action, which is good, with a custom button. That's what I would do, but it's not really a program. That's what happens at the end of the video on there. So as far as, and that's talking about on your website itself. So I hope that answered your question a little bit.
Well, no, there's annotations and notes and calls to action that you can embed in your YouTube video. And we've gone over that in a previous Denver YouTube Professionals program. But it's inside the annotations editing button. If you go in here and you take your video, let's see one of these videos, then you can go into, it's the third button from the right, and I know mine's not plugged in, so when you're in your editor, it's the third button from the right, just underneath your video, and it looks like an annotation, and you can hide a link inside that, and you can say click here to go to the website. And you can obviously put your phone number on your video as well in that same method. So another question?
Yeah, when you were talking about geography, several years ago we were using hyperlocal descriptions for real estate. If we're in other industries, is that just a long tail argument by doing hyperlocal of a neighborhood? Because it's kind of unique, but it's more of a long tail. If we're in other industries, is there a way to get away from, top 4, top 2 keywords where if it's a long tail argument on the geography, can we take that into other industries in a way? I don't know how to do that, how to get real small and granular in any topic, kind of like we did in real estate. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
So like taking a neighborhood and saying, this is the neighborhood I serve?
Yeah, we'd get really specific. it wouldn't just be a city or subdivision. It would be streets, and it would be as very granular thing. But now that we're doing other industries, I'm wondering that affect how we take that into other industries and get real granular. If it's a long tail type of thing, or if it's.
I would say do the research first of all. Type in what other people would type in, and you can use the keyword planner tool to also tell you how often those keywords are going to be searched. But it doesn't tell you at a granular level very well. They kind of took that ability away for us to use.
Okay.
Well, okay. So,
Not sure what the question is.
yeah, I am having a little bit of difficulty with the question. I don't
Okay.
know. Do you want to?
Well, let me think about it. Maybe I'll rephrase it.
You want to do a plumber instead of real estate?
Just the industry change, or?
No, just the way that we were using keywords and trying to affect SEO. Real estate's the only example I had because
I know what
that's
you're
where we
saying.
were doing it.
Where you would add
Instead of
street
Denver.
names and cities and surrounding neighborhoods and
Yeah,
and do all that.
Very specific addresses.
Sure, yeah. We don't want to do that anymore.
Okay.
That's keyword stuffing typically, at least if we're thinking about it the same way, where you have comma delimited, basically information. What neighborhoods, cities, addresses. Basically, when you're creating SEO, has changed fundamentally over the past several years.
Yeah, this was like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and since that time, every page that you have needs to serve one purpose. So that being said, all the content around that page needs to be in depth. It can't just be thin, the minimum amount possible to rank. Instead, now you're writing a resource for what that topic is to be the best out there.
Yeah, I think since 5 years ago, Google ranked you in the search engines based on 75% of what it knew about you from finding that on your website, and 25% of what the rest of the internet knew about you. And now it's completely shifted to where it will rank you in the Google search engine based off only 25% of what your own website says about you and 75% of what the rest of the internet says about you.
Okay.
And a lot of that is links. So other people talking about you and referencing you. So just like I mentioned linking to your other social networks or other videos or web page in there, you can also link to your own videos and raise its position as well. So something to keep in mind. So if you embed your YouTube video, this is specifically for YouTube at this point, but if you embed your video on multiple websites, just like I was talking about with that sharing method, with that Airsoft example, showing up on all these news sites, that's what I did was the embed version. I'm now getting all these links going back to that, and that can potentially rank. So,
Casey, can you bring that up on your computer? Because I think that's worth explaining and showing at the same time.
Sure.
If you pull up one of your videos in your video manager and you scroll just below the video itself, you'll see those 5 buttons, one of them fourth from the right being the annotations button. But then just below that, the share button, which he's clicking on here. Now, under that, you'll see this code that's highlighted automatically, and then the embed button, which he referred to earlier.
This one is disabled on.
Okay.
So this wasn't the video, but
You didn't want it to. But then that's a longer code that you can put into the back end of your website.
correct. Yeah, just a little bit of HTML code that they can copy and paste into their website.
Now,
And then your video shows.
does that still count as a view if somebody watches it from your website?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's loading. It's all it is taking this same YouTube video and loading it on their website. But it's still all in YouTube. It's still referencing YouTube, and it's still hosted on YouTube.
Now, just for reference, click on the email button as well.
Okay.
And then if you had a list of people that you typically sent your emails, you could copy and paste that to this box, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could share using exactly this right here to certain email addresses, absolutely. Now, email marketing, I was talking to somebody here a little bit earlier, I think it was you, is that email marketing is the second most effective method of online advertising if you have a targeted list. So if you do have a place that you know, or you have a customer list, some customers that you know people would actually enjoy this, and send it to them, then yes, of course, your rates are going to go way up.
Now, I've heard another thing, and you'll have to validate it, that text marketing is even more effective than email marketing. So of all texts that you get, they all get opened. So wouldn't it be nice if there was another button there to add all of our friends' telephone numbers? We could send them our YouTube video, and it would show up in their, their text message box.
That would be interesting. And when you know that most searches now are mobile, I mean, that we bridged that gap recently within the past year or so. So more searches are happening on people's devices now than on desktop computers. So, and that's important because your videos are being watched on mobile too.
Yeah, and YouTube is now one of the most searched websites because of how people rely on it for good content. How to and how do I are the two most used terms on YouTube.
Yeah.
And, it's really referred to as Universal University because of how much information is contained on there.
And the top two search engines, in case you didn't know, are Google and Yahoo. Or not Yahoo, wow. YouTube. I did not say Yahoo. I apologize. YouTube. So you know where you want to be now, right?
Great. So now with all this information that we can use to get more views on our videos, we want to drive traffic to a page on our website. And I think you referred to that earlier, that we need a page for each specific reason. So let's say that one reason was we had Great Danes that we wanted to sell.
Okay.
Right? And so what would that page look like? What would a good end user experience look like if we landed on that web page?
That's a good question. So user experience. So first of all, if this is still pulled up, if I were to scroll down here on this video, if it lets me scroll, there should be a link in here somewhere. Oh, this one isn't released yet. That's why. Oh. Of course, there's not. But basically, let's say that, let's pull up this one. This one will have it. Right here, they have this link right here. And this is a sales page for them. So the people that already watched that video came to this page and they're able to see it. So in this case, they have everything they need to make the purchase there, but they also did the embed down here as well. If you're going from a video to somewhere, you've already seen that video, so it may not be important to have that video right at the top, right? Because they've already seen it. But it depends on exactly what your conversion funnel is. Because at the same time, maybe they watch that video and want to watch a follow-up video. Then I would have them land on a landing page like this, but then I'd have a video in the upper left-hand corner with the text and maybe some calls to action immediately to the right of that. Whatever action you want them to take, it has to be clear and it has to be above the fold, which means they have to not scroll once they land on that page to take whatever that action is, for the most part, depending on what you're selling.
Yeah, and to maintain the stream of thought, let's not go to Great Danes. Let's keep it on these airsoft guns. And let's say that I was searching for, an ICS full review of this, UK1. And I landed on that video.
Yep.
And I liked what I saw, and so I wanted to go to this landing page. How is this landing page architected in a way, if I did drive traffic there, to give me a good experience so that I might purchase this particular product?
Sure. So this one was, again, just geared specifically for that purchase. So when you land, because it says, basically click here to view the product and buy it, you're taken to it right there in front of you. So and you can do everything about it and buy it on the page.
Perfect. So if I know what my problem is and I want to buy this thing right now, boom, I'm able to do that right away.
But in an ideal situation, this add to cart would actually be, I'd change some of the heading, and I'd make that kind of front and center, and then on the right, without that scrolling, below the fold, like I mentioned.
Yes, so the way it's been explained to me is that there's information that we need to give people in the order that they're looking to receive it in. And one is transactional. They know they've got that problem, and they need to fix it right now, and so they want that immediate gratification, and we got to give them a way to get that. And the second is informational content. They know they've got a problem. They're just not quite sure if they're able to make a decision right now, so they're still in research mode. They need more information. And you can see, as he scrolled through this page, it had tons of information on it so that they could do that research and get access to those resources. And then thirdly, they know what their problem is. They know what their solution is. It's just not the right time for them right now. So they need a way to keep in touch with you so that when it is the right time, that they can have quick access, they remember who you are, and they can go and make that transaction.
Exactly, yeah. And it totally varies by industry what you're doing. If it's informational, this might just be information in a long page. You have to scroll tip 1, tip 2, tip 3, and then at the bottom just an email subscribe button, because that's where they might be. And so you have to figure out what that end goal is and kind of work your way backwards when developing these strategies. That's what I do so that I make sure that everything fits into place.
But we see pictures, we see descriptions,
Yep.
we see videos. Do we see any potential reviews from customers who've had this?
Yeah, so we do on this one. Well, there's no reviews actually on this one, but they do have a review section on the website. So most of their products do in fact have reviews, and that's important. If you sell anything, or even if you have a service, you should have reviews. Readily available, because that's consumers are smarter. They're getting smarter. They're educating themselves, and they're doing research on a company before making that purchase. So if you're skipping that step,
And if you have a store, they may have likely done 90% of their decision making before they step into that store, based on the knowledge that they have that all information is instantly accessible at their fingertips right now.
Yeah, and that's huge. And and another thing too, it just kind of a side thought of if what your goal is. If you're just trying to get them to, if you're trying to sell a product, you could also link to other information resources that have more information, and then maybe link to the product after that if somebody's interested in kind of following that a little bit further. So you got to give people choices, and hopefully they can get where they're looking.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoyed the content that we delivered today. Denver YouTube Professionals meets here every month, and we're committed to helping you use video to increase and grow awareness of your company and sell products or services if you may have that. Some of the topics that we've used in the past are video testimonials, which are very powerful, that go along with reviews. We always invite in a guest speaker like Casey, and we've had former 9 News anchor Neil Brown come in and talk about sound bites, which are a very important, impactful way to communicate online. We've had the topic emotional intelligence behind the camera with George Ira Carroll. And next month, we've got a brand new topic called Google VR, or virtual reality with Google Cardboard. And there was a company that came out called Oculus with a virtual reality kit that was like thousands of dollars. But it really did a good job of making you feel like you were inside of a whole new environment. And Google kind of mocked that idea by coming up with this piece of cardboard that you could actually make out of a pizza box. And you could open up an app inside your smartphone, stick that phone inside of that cardboard box, stick it around your head, and you would feel like the same experience of being inside a different room. And so that is the topic for next month's show. We are using video in all new ways, and although we might not be able to use virtual reality for our businesses right now, we're going to be able to use that in the future. And so this might just give you some insight into what's ahead of us, what's in the future, and maybe what we should look for as we evolve our businesses in this new area. I've got another guest speaker coming on who's going to talk to you about interactive video and how inside of a video you can click on a product and be taken to a landing page just like this. And, as business owners, we really should keep our eye on the future. And so although we might not be able to use this technology right now, we will be able to use it in the future at some point, and it'll be good to have this information. So I've capped the attendance to just 20 people because I do have to order one of those kits for everyone. So if you're able to come, sign up now. It's only $15, but the price will go up to $20 after today. And after we get 20 people, we'll have to cap it off. And so we'll learn about interactive video, and we'll get to walk away, everyone, with one of those virtual reality kits. We've got 3 goals here at Denver YouTube Professionals. 1 is to share really good knowledge. 2 is to come together and network. And 3 is to practice. So that third part is what we're going to move in now, as we have just 15 minutes to close this show. They'll go to music, and if you would like to make a video with Casey or I, you can come up on stage, and we can pop open our smartphones and maybe work on a few videos or video testimonials if you'd like to give one for the group. And that's the only way we're going to get better at this, is by practicing. So that's another really good part of this group. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and we'll see you next month. Thanks.
Thank you.
That was great.